This is an extract from the Leader podcast by the Evening Standard. The whole thing is available on all major podcast providers. Walk into any supermarket, presuming you didn't have to queue in the first place, and you'll see all manner of coronavirus measures. There's often hand gel at the door. There will be signs reminding you of 2 meters social distancing. Some stores have plexiglass keeping staff and customers apart. And there's usually a notice telling you to wear a mask, and walking right past it, there's sometimes someone doing exactly the opposite, with no one from the store doing anything about it. Search through social media and you'll find a lot of people asking a lot of questions about that, and that now includes government ministers and the police. They've summoned supermarket bosses to a meeting to ask why the law isn't being enforced. Our city editor Jim Armitage has a story. Jim, why are people getting away with not wearing face masks in stores?
Well, the problem is for the supermarkets is that, well, they're not the police. They're not an enforcement body. They don't have the civil enforcement powers to, as one CEO said to me yesterday, put their shoppers in a half Nelson and march them out of the store if they refuse to wear a mask. You know, their staff are supermarket staff. They're not policemen. So they say, and this is the law, that it's the police or local council official marshals to do the enforcement for them.
So they've been kind of summoned to this meeting with ministers and police, Jim. What do we think is going to be said there?
Yeah, it does feel very much like a summons. I mean, it's being portrayed as a collective getting together of ideas. You know, why is it not working? How can we enforce compliance without causing too much friction with shoppers? I mean, the phrase in the agenda which we've seen is how we can, quotes, collectively promote compliance, quotes, with the rules. So it's basically trying to work out how the police, the supermarkets and the local council officials can sort of enforce this compliance.
And it is difficult because there are people who are exempt from wearing masks, aren't there, Jim?
This is the problem, and you can't necessarily, well, obviously the shopkeepers don't want to be prying into checking why people are exempt if they say they are. Obviously, if you say you're exempt, then the shops have to sort of go with that. But again, that could just be an excuse for those the sort of anti-mask brigade who just don't want to wear a mask. So again, it's a very muddy area and very, very difficult to police.
And of course, right now, the food industry, the supermarkets are just about the only sector that's doing well out of this pandemic.
Yeah, the supermarkets and the banks are both having a good war. Let's not feel too aggrieved, though, at the fact that supermarkets are having a good time of it in terms of revenue. Let's not forget they kept us fed through extremely difficult, trying circumstances over the last 7 months. And while their takings have gone through the roof because so many of us who would have been maybe eating out once or twice a week are now buying all of our food in the supermarkets, while they are getting those increased takings, they're also having to invest many, many, many millions of pounds on hiring new staff to cope with the deluge of new customers, new staff to put on all of the home shopping, which is surged astronomically. I mean, I remember one boss telling me we've had about 5 years worth of expected growth in online shopping in the course of 5 months. So that's all cost the retailers absolute fortune. So profits are up, sales are up massively, but it is costing them at the same time.
And then there is Christmas coming up. There's a lot of uncertainty about how or what Christmas is going to look like in the UK this year. How's it looking for the supermarkets and their sales?
Again, this is like the multi-billion-pound question for them, literally in terms of sales. Christmas traditionally being the biggest shopping period for grocers of the year, and it is so uncertain at the moment. I mean, particularly when almost day by day we get new rules on lockdowns, trying to predict how many people are going to be having huge, expensive family get-togethers is damn nigh impossible to predict. It's proving very tricky, and Halloween as well is also a tricky one. I don't think there'll be many kids in Liverpool going around knocking on people's doors to do trick or treat.